Action.
Action. Alright guys, what we're going to do, still tinkering with the camera, so we're doing some more live streaming just to see if we can figure things out. My beautiful wife, Miss Vanna White, my wife Vicky, is serving as the director, because with the Mevo camera you can set up all these shots, you can let it kind of do its own little thing, but we're now trying to see what happens if she serves as director. So what we're making today is a cheese bread. We're going to get it started. Of course, it's going to have to rise, and I'm not going to bore you guys to death with saying all that. But first, let's talk about our ingredients. I have 1 cup of water, warm water, just barely lukewarm, and one packet of the instant yeast. You need to put the yeast in there. You don't really need to splurge it around too much, but put your yeast in the water, and you got to wait 10 minutes for your yeast to grow. You can't really see it, but it's going to be foamy and bubbly. It is a living organism. So, in addition to the water, we have 3 3/4 cups of just white flour, unbleached flour, all-purpose flour, and then we got some other stuff we'll talk about as we add the ingredients. Now, one thing I do like to do with my flour is kind of mix in all of the dry ingredients, kind of fluff them together a little bit. I just think it helps mix things up a little bit when we put everything into our mixer. So 3 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. I am going to put in 2 teaspoons of sea salt, and I hate this salt sprinkler because it just doesn't like me. Don't buy this salt. I won't slam them too much since we're live. It just is very sticky. So there's 2 teaspoons of salt. What I have here is 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. We're just going to put that in there. And this is 1/4 cup of Pecorino cheese. Stick it in the bottom a little bit. And all I'm going to do is just take my fork and just kind of mix these together a little bit. I just think pre-mixing your dry ingredients when you're making a bread at the end makes it a better mix. Cuts down on your kneading, which you're going to knead your bread anyway. Alright, so there's our dry ingredients. Let's get over to our wet ingredients. Again, 1 cup of flour with 1 pack of dry yeast. Let it set at least 10 minutes. Bread is chemistry, biology, and patience. Oh yeah, and a little bit of baking skills. So now what we're going to do is 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Use a good olive oil. Alright, so there's our 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Put the lid on this so when I knock it off it won't go everywhere. 2 eggs. Just put them right in your wet ingredients. And we're not going to start with the dough hook. We're going to start with our paddle. If you do not have a KitchenAid mixer, get one now. I use this thing all the time when I'm cooking, but boy, if you're making bread, it's invaluable. Lock in the head, and we're just going to let that mix, let it beat those eggs, get everything mixed together. While that's going, I'm going to grab a rubber spatula here. Just going to let that mix for a second or two. It's fun to watch. You guys can't really see it. I need to set up another camera angle so we'll be able to see things mixing. Or buy the glass bowl one of these days. So it goes in KitchenAid mixers. Alright, I'm going to stop that. Let me get these eggs out of the way here. Wipe up a little bit of our egg goo real quick. Okay, so now what we're going to do is get our dry ingredients incorporated while the mixer's on. We're going to set this on low speed. And all I'm going to do is take my rubber spatula and slowly, slowly, slowly add my flour. And you can see I'm just continually adding it. Once it gets to a point where it's going to try to kick out of the bowl or whatever, I may put the guard on and then just pour it right down in there. Make sure you get all your flour and cheese and salt mix into your mixer and not on the table, which I'm doing about half and half. You'll hear my mixer here in a second as I get more dry ingredients in there you're going to hear it slow down a little bit. You'll hear that motor start working a little bit more. And that's about the time when we'll stop and add the dough hook. So there we go. We'll go ahead and put this on so that way if it tries to kick out, it'll keep it there. Can you hear my mixer slowing down? It's working a little harder. Time to add the dough hook. Turn the mixer off. Unlock it. Take our little rubber spatula here and clean off our paddle like so. Just knock all the dough down in there. Don't worry about trying to mix it together with your hands right now. We'll do that in a little bit. The final knead is always with your hands. It seems like the dough hook just never mixes it up quite enough for me. Maybe it does for you, but I'm picky. All right, dough hook on. Twist that bad boy on, lock it in. I'm gonna put my guard on. We're gonna let this go for, about 3 minutes. Begin testing out the new camera, just trying to get used to it, trying to figure everything out. My beautiful wife is watching me on the tablet, on my iPad, where she can select between the different shots. So she's my producer, director, in addition to my boss. So again, buy the Italian Baker. Let me go off camera real quick. Buy the Revised Italian Baker from Carol Field. Read the first section before you jump into the bread recipes, unless you're a seasoned bread maker, which I just wasn't. I couldn't get my bread to raise. I couldn't make a bread that I felt like was worthy of eating. Just couldn't get it airy inside or anything. So I'm going to clean up my area a little bit here, grab a few things, get them out of the way, because when I get my flour out, I'm just going to need we'll need the flour right here real quick, and then we'll cover it up. Now there are some breads that require like a starter. You know, there's some folks who will grow like their own yeast and whatnot and get that starter. But when I say starter, I'm talking about a 24-hour starter. Or it's called Biga, B-I-G-A. I don't know if it's Biga or Biga. Probably Biga. But what that is, dog's barking. Oh, Josie, come here. Come here. You want to say hi to everybody? Come here. Come here, you furry rat. Oh, don't lay down. It's Josie. I know, now you're going to make me have to wash my hands. No barking like that. He's telling me. Okay. Oh, good dog. Alright. Let me wash my hands now. Alright, so let me get my hands dry here. What we're going to do is knead this dough. Actually, while it's still kneading in there, I'm going to do one other thing. This will go into a lightly oiled bowl. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is pour a little bit of olive oil. You don't need to use a good olive oil. You can use a cheap vegetable oil. Just oil your bowl, wipe it around, because you do not want your dough to stick. Alright, put this away. Alright, it's time to knead our dough. You always want to do the final knead with your hands. So what I'm going to do is lay down a little bit of flour here, not a lot, just enough so it doesn't stick on my counter. Normally I would get one of my cutting boards out, but those are way down there and I don't want to bend over because I'm lazy. So what we'll do here is I'll take my rubber spatula, get the dough off the hook. This is actually a very sticky dough. Nice little piece down. Alright, get my dough out here. Little ball in the bottom. So with your dough, when you do your final knead, you really are just kind of folding it over and just pressing. Now this is a very hardy dough. Sometimes some of the breads I've made here very recently have been very moist. I'll tell you what, this has got, it's not very sticky, but it's it's got a full body to it. Like when I'm pushing on it, it takes some pressure to push on it. And that's because, I'm sure because it's got the cheese in it and whatnot. And actually this did not take much of a kneading to be done. Really, when you're kneading the dough, what I'm feeling for, and again, I don't know that much about baking bread. I've only been doing it now for a couple weeks. I just want to make sure everything's mixed together really well. But this is ready to go. Now what I'm going to do, pick it up with my hands. I like to kind of do it like this, just because I'm trying to feel for dry spots of clumps of flour or whatnot. All I feel is the graininess of the cheese, which is perfect. So what I'm going to do is just kind of form it into a ball, put it in my bowl, cover it with plastic. You always want to cover your breads with plastic because you do not want the moisture to escape. I'm going to cover this one both ways to make sure that there are no gaps, no way for the air to get out, and we're going to let that first rise for 2 hours. After the first rise, what you do is you punch it down. After 2 hours, you pull it out, you separate it into, punch it down, separate it into 2 loaves, because you're going to make 2 round loaves with this. Form it into balls, put down a little cornmeal, and put it on parchment paper or something so that you can get it off easily and put it in your oven. It's going to bake in the oven. I should have seen how long it was going to bake. This is not one of my mixes. This is, again, from this wonderful book. We're going to bake it at 425 for about 40 minutes. And in the first 10 minutes, you either want to spray your oven with water. You want moisture in there in that first 10 minutes to form that crust around the bread. If you don't have a spray bottle, which I don't, I put a small metal pan over off to the side of my oven and throw ice in it. And that ice will boil off, it'll make the steam, it'll give the bread a crust. So that's all there is to this bread. Again, this is just a cheese bread, Parmesan Pecorino cheese, just while we're tinkering with the new camera. And, you know, don't forget to subscribe to POV Italian Cooking. Also, we're now part of the Simply Good Food TV family. So search for Simply Good Food TV, download the app. Go to SGTV on Twitter, and you can check in their bio for a link. So thanks for watching. Click the subscribe button. Check us out on all the social media platforms, and we'll see you later. Ciao. You know how to stop it?